Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Hey, welcome to the Monday, September 16th, 2024 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. We're all in attendance. I'll call the meeting to order. And second, we'll do pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
all. We have meeting agendas in the back of the room. Sign in, and you'll show up in public record. I do want to announce we did have two executive sessions on August 26th and September 16th tonight for personnel matters. 3, we have public comment for non-agenda items only. Is there anyone here for public comment for non-agenda items? Online? Okay, we'll move on. We have a few items of note for the consent agenda. We have 4A, approval of the September 16th, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. We do have a change to the meeting agenda. We're going to add 12G, which is authorizing staff to defend the zoning hearing board decision regarding 138 Elmwood Road. The rest of the agenda stands. We have 4B, approval of minutes of the Monday, August 19th, 2024 regular meeting. We have 4C, time extension request to record conditionally approved plan, which is Gish's Furniture, Land Development Plan 23-5-2217, Lincoln Highway East. And that is a 90-day, working with PennDOT for that application. And it's the second time extension for that plan. We have 4D, time extension offer for Township Review and Action, Wise Land Development Plan 2411, 1631 Old Philadelphia Pike. This is also for a 90-day time extension. And it looks like we have until January 5th, 2025 to act on the plan. Also second time extension for that application. We have 4E, request for reduction in financial security for Christian A. Stoltzfus Jr. lot add-on and land development plan 2201-264 Maple Avenue. And it looks like they're requesting reduction for site improvements. And let's see, we have a letter dated September 12th, indicating $204,054.56 to be reduced from the posted funds, leaving a balance of $38,146.65 for the project. And staff recommends approval of that financial security reduction. And we have 4F. We have approval to pay invoices from all funds. It's a total of $1,250,201.61. We have a few items of note, $364,083.37 to the city of Lancaster for quarterly sewage treatment charges, $291,422.50 to Shirk pole buildings for pole building construction, $70,550 even to Garden Spot Electric for pole building electric construction, $25,440 to Vigilant Solutions for electric power cable for pole building, $67,652 even for quarterly fire company contributions. We have 4 volunteer companies. So that's $16,913 to each of the companies. And then $14,000 to Lancaster EMS for a quarterly contribution. That is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
Okay, motion made by Ted, seconded by Mike. Any public comment for the consent agenda? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Okay, consent agenda passed. Thank you so much. Okay, we have 5, recognition of township service for Mr. Brent Foltfus. Mr. Foltfus, you want to join us? How are you, sir? I'll read this off. Get some steps. So this says, presented to Brett Solskus in recognition of and grateful appreciation for outstanding service to East Lampeter Township, having served as a member of East Lampeter Sewer Authority from September 2019 to September 2024, a total of 5 years of service, presented the 16th day, September 2024, by the Board of Supervisors of East Lampeter Township. Thank you, Brett. I think we all take for granted the sewer authority, right? We use toilets, we flush the toilet, or we turn the water on the sink, and there is a ton of work that goes into making sure all that magic happens. So I'll keep it at that. But if you ever have a chance, please come to one of those meetings. They talk about a lot of things that I think most of us take for granted. So thank you, Brent. Okay, number 6, we have recognition of promotion to police lieutenant. Preston Gensler.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the time to recognize one of our officers. Can I call Detective Sergeant Preston Gensler up to the stand, please? Preston Gensler was hired in May of 1999 as a patrol officer with East Lampeter Township Police Department. After approximately 1 year, he took a position with the former Clay Township Police Department as a detective. In June of 2002, Preston was rehired and worked in the patrol division until August of 2003, when he became the first school resource officer at Conestoga Valley High School. He held that position for 3 years before taking a position in our detective division. In 2016, Detective Gensler was named a Special Federal Officer, Special Duty U.S. Marshal by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This position afforded Detective Gensler to continue his work at East Lampeter Township, but also have the federal connections with which to bring federal charges when possible. In December of 2018, Detective Gensler was promoted to the rank of sergeant and continued to work in the detective division. Over the course of 23 years, Detective Gensler has amassed numerous accolades and commendations for his involvement in cases around Lancaster County as well as East Lampeter Township. Sergeant Gensler has now completed the process for the rank of lieutenant, and I am pleased to recommend his promotion to the Board of Supervisors.
Just change the word sergeant to lieutenant. Right. Good. Yeah, great. I, Lieutenant Preston Gensler,
I, Lieutenant Preston Gensler,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of Police Lieutenant in East Lampeter Township, Lancaster County with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of Police Lieutenant in East Lampeter Township, Lancaster County with fidelity.
Congrats. I just want to say, first of all, great to see all of our police officers here. I feel like every time we talk about the pension, we have all the police officers here as well. So I think we have good news on the pension, and again, good to see all the police officers. The job.
We give Lieutenant Gensler a moment to introduce.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, get 1 second then, because I was gonna work into it. You've been through this before. It's all good. No, the job of being a police officer will never get easier than today. It just continues to get more difficult. And I appreciate all of you, but all of your families as well. So, and then secondly, being a leader in this role is just a whole nother level of difficulty. So Lieutenant Gensler, introduce us to your family.
Thank you. Introduce my wife Amy and my parents Ed and Kathy.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
And you do not have to stay for the rest of the meeting. And then we'll hear about. Number 7 on the agenda, we have presentation from the Lancaster Library. John.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and boards, for giving us this time. I wrote a couple paper copies of the presentation, if anybody would to have one.
We actually have.
Yeah, okay. Would like to have?
Yeah.
You're welcome to grab one on the screen. So, yeah, we're given this opportunity, Lancaster Public Library, to share briefly a report on the work of the library and the way that members of the East Lamphere community are using the library. I'm John Heinzling, I'm the director of Government Advice. With me is Liz Collins, our executive director of the library, who, when we get to questions, may be able to answer some of them better. So we'll see.
Good.
Yeah, so just to run through things about the library, we'll start by sharing our mission and vision. Our mission, the Lancaster Public Library inspires, empowers, and strengthens our community by connecting people with information, ideas, and enriching experiences. By providing equitable access to vital educational resources, exceptional programming, and community building opportunities, the Lancaster Public Library is recognized as a dynamic center of knowledge and a cornerstone Lancaster community. And I'll mention quickly for anyone who might be new to the way the library is set up, there is the library system of Lancaster County. There is its own entity that provides a lot of the back, so to speak, services, the catalog, the movement of the books between the libraries. Beyond that, each of the libraries is independent. So Lancaster Public Library is both the downtown branches. So when we talk about Lancaster Public Library, that's the entity that we're referencing. So a few stats on Lampeter Township. Next. Oh, yeah, sorry, it's some of them are maybe the display at the bottom to the left of that, sort of like sliding plus and minus. Down at the bottom.
You want to clarify that or slide man? You got it.
Yeah. Reversion has a different spot. Yeah. So a few stats on how the residents of East Lampeter are using the library. These are stats from 2023, our last complete year. 22% of township residents are library card holders. And in 2023, borrowed 11,485 materials from the library. And that equates to just short of $300,000 worth of free materials that the community is accessing through Lancaster Public Library, which we're thrilled to be able to offer service. Next. As you may know, just over a year ago, we moved into a new space on North Queen Street, neighbors of Cargus, which has been really wonderful to be in the heart of activity in downtown. Really has opened up opportunities for additional programming and collaboration with other organizations. There's a lot of things here. I won't go through all the details, but when I started with the library, I started in November, still fairly new. Since then, I was learning all sorts of things, including all the offerings that the library has for the community. And so that includes many unique things like games and American Girl. I checked out a parachute for our neighborhood night for our block party. But the two that I want to really highlight in particular, those top two, our Business and Reference Center is a really special resource to the community. If you're familiar with the SCORE program, Business Mentoring Program, those business mentors, it's a nonprofit, they send all of their clients, all of the people who are starting businesses or considering starting businesses to use the resources that we offer there. It includes databases for both businesses and nonprofits, like grant research databases that would cost a prohibitive amount of money for someone starting a nonprofit or a small business to be able to use those resources. So it's really incredible what is offered there in those areas, and journals and things like that. People come even from outside of Lancaster County to utilize that. And the other one is the Sensory and Autism Resource Center. I try to take as many chances as I can to tell people about this. It's a real hidden gem it's in our children's area, but it's for age. And it has resources in it for people on the autism spectrum with sensory disorders. And there are materials like fidget toys, weighted blankets, all sorts of things that they can utilize. And in some cases, like a weighted blanket would be a very expensive investment for a family to make it. So they can try it first at the library and see if that works as a resource for their child. So some really cool stuff if you know anybody who benefit from that service. Next. As I mentioned, we moved not that long ago into this new space, increased our accessibility for individuals in the community. We added a lot of different spaces, and one of the really exciting things is the spaces that people can either rent out or we can hold more of our programs in. And another one that I would highlight in there. So it's anywhere from like a little 6-person small conference room up to 250 people can be in a space. And those are available for rent, discounted for nonprofits. And specifically that flex office is the smallest space, and that's available to nonprofits who want to meet with the client. If they're meeting with the client, they can use that space for free by signing it out with them. So as you talk to people, as leaders in the community, welcome you to share that with others. And we're also really excited. In January, we're going to be starting with funds, the federal funds that we received through Lancaster City, COVID relief funds. We're going to be expanding our program and hiring a full-time outreach librarian. We'll have people that will be able to go and be like a mobile library, mobile computer station, all sorts of things. And so that would be in partnership with other nonprofits, community organizations, faith organizations, the schools that we already get into. So we look forward to growing and benefiting the community. Next. A lot of generous people and organizations help to make the library possible. 38% of our funding last year came through government funds. So that would include municipalities like yourself, county and state funds. And we're very grateful for all the generosity that we receive from those government sources. 62% is made up of, we call it internally generated. So some of that is things like late fees. We do passport processing, encourage people to do their passports at the library because we benefit financially from it. And other things like photocopies, but around money is direct fundraising efforts. And that comes from individuals, other nonprofits, foundations, businesses. From within East Lampeter Township, within the last 5 years, there are 8 businesses and foundations that contributed to the library, to Lancaster Public Library. And going back a bit further, that goes to 18 in the CD school district. So really, we're very, very thankful for that partnership and many generous individuals and organizations and businesses that give to the library. The way that Lancaster County is set up in terms of library is challenging to libraries and leaves us really working at fundraising. The national average is just short of $40 per capita local funding that goes to libraries. Most recently, Lancaster Public Library is at $1.32. Thank you for pulling up that East Lampeter Township. We're very grateful for that. The Pennsylvania recommendation for local library support is $5 per capita. So that's the dream that we would aim for with each of our municipalities, but we are grateful that East Lampeter has been a faithful supporter and pulls up that average relative to the other. We have 14 municipalities that are within the Lancaster Public Library service area. Next. This is just a quick stats to show where Lancaster Public Library ranks within Pennsylvania, 8th largest service area within Pennsylvania. But as I just mentioned, low on the funding. And one of the things, I think the most important thing that this highlights is the incredible work of our staff in terms of stewardship. What is being done in the community in terms of programming, resourcing, partnerships, all of that. Our staff have done an amazing job at curating and focusing and working hard to benefit the community. And we're excited as we continue to grow the support from all of those sectors, thinking of what we can do with such a great staff in terms of community impact. Next. One of the things, and I think you received this, froze up, maybe. I think you received these ahead of time. If not, I'll make sure that I get those to Hutch to get to you.
Yeah,
You got it? Great. So over the past few months, we got really helpful feedback, particularly from some of our local municipalities, local government leaders who hear from community members, and recognized that we needed to work on our transparency, our communication with our constituency as a whole, but particularly our local municipalities who do support us and are involved in the library. So we updated both the program policy and the meeting policy. And part of that was also being in the new space, having much more opportunity to rent out meeting rooms, recognize that we needed to have more clarity around what that looked like and how that would work in the community. So those were updated, as well as the application for rental. We appreciate your partnership, and we'll continue to work at how we can communicate transparently and in a way that feels like an authentic partnership. Next. You can find all of our policies. There's a link there. There's many programs that happen. This is just a sampling of them. A lot of them, STEM or STEAM related. Those of you that connect with education, science, technology, engineering, or math is an area that we have a lot of programming in and wonderful partners that help with that. Things like microscope lab, telescope program, builders lab. We have a great teen program, and that is going to grow as we have a dedicated teen young adult space in the new library. And one of those is teen gaming that's very, very popular. Explorer bags, a really fun one. Stuff like binoculars and a bird book and things like that would be one example to get kids out and exploring and learning. Bits and Bytes is a great one as well for the community to be aware of. It's a series of computer-based courses or technology courses where, starting from the very most basic, how to do some of the basic stuff with computers, resume writing, through more advanced things like working with specific programs that require more training. We continue to develop our programming in Spanish language, and we have Spanish language story time, pajama story time. We have stuffed animal story time, which is a very kids drop off their stuffed animals, they spend the night. There's a video that's put out. You should check it out. It's very cute. And folk music series is another one that we just started recently that I think is monthly, and that's a really cool if you're a music lover. Next. We've been thrilled, and part of this is when moving to the new building, accessibility and all of it, as well as the excitement that it generates to that space, to see our staff really jump over the last year. So we've, as you see, have increases in all of these areas, what people are checking out, how they're using the computers, attendance at programs. In particular, I would look at that computer accessibility. Our public computers are getting used in ways they did not, which is huge for the community because so many people lack either computer access or internet access in their homes, people who are experiencing homelessness, needing access. So what that means in terms of people finding jobs, securing jobs, education is huge, and we're thrilled to see that growing. Next. So, our last year, East Lampeter Township provided us with over $8,400 in support of the library. So it is your support that is helping to make that happen with the business in the community, the residents, individuals who are supporting the library. I want to thank you so much for that support. That number came out to $2 per. I think you're a little bit lower this year, unless you know if there's a plan to give more in the last 2 quarters. But very, very grateful for that support, for East Lampeter being such a faithful supporter of Lancaster Public Library. I want to invite you to consider again 2025, including us in your budget. I appreciate that local government service is not always a well appreciated job, and you have a lot of competing priorities. So we do appreciate what you give, and hope that you will consider giving again. What I would invite you to consider is, as we try to continue to give fair pay to our staff, just costs go up, that you would consider increasing by 4% over the 2023 amount that you gave. So creeping that up a little bit. If you would consider that, we would be grateful. But again, want to thank you for all that you do give and the way you have supported us, and the community here in East Lampeter supports us.
Thank you, John.
Invite questions.
Yeah, questions from,
And
yeah, sure. Questions from the board first, and then I'll allow for any questions from the public as well.
You having increased numbers are very impressive. I bet you would think that it's really a marvelous facility. So 11,485 materials borrowed by our residents. Do you have a sense what it was in 2022?
I can check that and get back to you. I don't know.
I don't have
I just
it.
want to know if that was a significant.
Let me get back to you on that.
Good. Other questions? So we do have money in the draft budget. Again, we have not approved the budget, but go through a process of looking at draft. Looked at a draft about a month ago now. You have money for public libraries in that as well. I can't recall the amount at this point. 44,000. Is that the same as prior year?
That's an increase. We've increased our library funding every year since I joined the board, or Tori and I joined 10 years ago. So we've been increasing it steadily. One of the things that we do is we apply a funding formula based off of usage statistics. So we contribute to both Manheim Township Public Library, Strasburg Heisler Library, Peckway Valley Library, Lancaster Public Library. And we're hoping with the new, it's good to see the engagement statistics go up, because it's one of, if more of our residents visit the downtown library, their funding will go up, sort of commensurate with that amount. So that's how we've done things in the past, to try to, because we have no branch in East Lampeter Township residents. Sometimes we go to the city library. A lot of times we go to the Strasburg library because it's a lot closer.
I'd say the geography of East Lampeter Township, going from northwest to southeast, is you're sometimes closer to Strasburg, and some people are closer to Manheim Township, and some are closer, to the city. So, but we appreciate the presentation. Any other questions from the board?
I'd say too, thanks for
Yeah.
thank you for the steady increase of funding of all the libraries. That's a applaud you for that priority.
I will say Ethan, in my time, has really pushed for that, so I appreciate you pushing, and staff figuring out how we're able to do that, and the rest of the supervisors agreeing to it as well. So, any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Okay, thank you. We have a long agenda.
Yep.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Keeping things moving, but I want to get home by 11.
So,
Midnight. So, we have next on the agenda for session, presentation regarding pension plan investments. Morgan Stanley.
got the
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I last time I gave it to you while you're then. At least I gave you.
You got a 70-pager here. We'll highlight the most important. There's some food for thought in there. So let's hop into it. It's great to see Preston.
Yes.
To see him every quarter. All right, so let's jump into which page with actual information, page 5. This is through the end of August, and we're up 8.5% this year. You can see, on track for a double-digit year, which would make it 5 out of the last 6 years. But given the seasonality, presidential election cycle, should be fun to finish out the year from here. Got some choppiness now until the election, regardless of the victor. Normally the market just, hates what it doesn't know. It doesn't know who's going to win. And we normally get a rally regardless of party, now that we don't have that unknown ahead of time anymore. So, you can see the bottom left chart. And again, this is just for the police part here. The non-uniform mirrors this, but started with 9 million, back in 09. We've added almost 3 million between state, township, and police payroll. And, with profits like 23.5 million roughly, which is 7.5 net over the course of that time period. And that blue line in the top left keeps getting further away from the red. That's what we want to see. That's the product. Allocation on the next page, we're at 61% equities, almost right on the nose of 10% alternatives with a hard cap of 15, which we monitor rigorously. And, so we're happy with the allocation. Potentially, if we do get a sell off, we might do a little nibbling, and we'll work on that. Fine. Alternatives, anything that doesn't fit nicely in the stock fund category. But we own private equity, private credit, real estate, hedge funds. I believe that's the extent of the alternatives we've been. I came in the first time a couple of weeks ago. We came down with our alternatives expert because I had mentioned to Dodge and Gene at the time, hey, most pension plans have exposure to alternatives. We won't have these consider it. They said, you should probably come here to, talk to the board about it. And we did that. And we've been, at the time when we did that, we made an adjustment to the investment policy statement. The recommendation was 10 as a target, 20 as a cap. We got a cap of 15, so we watched that. But if you go to the page 8, you can see it's actually 9.8 because the like true alternative. Sometimes Morgan Stanley will categorize like a publicly traded real estate company as an alternative, but it's really a stock for our purposes. But if you look under this brokerage category, alternatives 3.5, which is 9.8 of the total assets. Mm-hmm. So that's the private deal liquid alternative. And the whole concept, rates were so low. We didn't want to get higher than 70% equity exposure, but we also didn't want to buy bonds too much because we're locking in 2% rate of return for a long period of time. And it's like, what can we do that's going to reduce our equity risk and still give us something close to the required return that we need from the actual. And you can see on page 11, the allocation change over time. It has been relatively in line. There was a spike. We got close to 70% equity exposure at the end of 2020, but we rebalanced that as necessary. If we feel like we've got too much in stocks, then we because I believe we have a cap at 7. So I will. You can do a quick rundown of the managers, which is on page 18, 19. And I've got one slide to show you after that. So it shows it here. We've got 4 large cap growth, but Poland, which looks like it only has $1,400, was in essence on its way out by August. We made a change and removed Poland and added the Loomis sales large growth in the Vanguard. That's why they have a week of performance data in there. Since then, large value, we have Columbia and Aristotle. Aristotle is up 11 since we hired them versus 9 on the index. Columbia Dividend is relatively new to the portfolio, underperforming a little bit, but they're kind of brand new. Same thing with Kate Anderson. They were hired in February 24. Small cap Ziegler Small Cap Core, 9.27 since inception versus 776. Vertus Convertible Fund, that is a, convertible bonds. That is a kind of a tactical call. Hadn't owned them before and don't expect to own them for, more than I'd say 3 to 5 years, but we really like some of the valuations in that space. Next page here, international, both the Mondrian and the Harding Loevner outperforming since we have put them into the portfolio. Emerging markets, GQG outperforming by 10% since we own them. BNY underperforming by a couple percent. And taxable core, that is Sage. And last 12 months are nice, up almost 10%. Last 5 years, that is basically the commercial and Y alternatives. And the next page actually shows you what the alternatives account has done over time. And if you go to 22, you can see kind of year by year what's going on in there. Last 5 years, we've averaged about 5%. So that's the, and then you can see kind of position by position. And I will take you to one snippet in the market stack, which is on Fed cuts. $37. All right, begging for a rate cut. And, since 1973, what the S&P 500 does after a rate cut is it varies widely. So we can see is there's some pretty nasty times in there that don't work out that well. It looks pretty mild as an average, but you rarely get there. So our expectation is going to be one of these red boxes, but kind of buyer beware, understand that some of these were during pretty unique nasty recessions and the like. But our expectations, we think the markets are a little expensive right now. We're not jumping in with 2 feet for any cash that's on the sideline, but we think we're going to make some money from here to the end of the year and the next 5 years. But be patient and you get you on the
Thank you. I apologize. You had to go so fast.
All right.
Results look really good. I really appreciate this. I love going through this, of course, and I do not have any questions at this time, but I do appreciate where I would have expected you to have this last week where markets were up, what, 4.5% broadly. I thought you would print it after, closer to today's date.
Yeah, although, so I always come in here in the mesh storm. So it was nice that we did that like 2 weeks ago and then cleaned it up. So.
Sounds good. Questions for Mr. Willard? Okay, hope you guys will take a look at this. There's a lot of great financial information other than just our investments, and this is just for the police plan. Like you said, the non-uniform plan essentially is the same exact thing.
Yeah, the
Smaller.
same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, get big cash flows.
Yeah.
Some drops here and there, and it takes a little bit of recalibrating, but it's probably basis points difference.
Yeah. Sounds good. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on. Thanks so much. Okay, 9, we have Divya Motel Stormwater Management Plan 2325 170 East Brook Road. Is anyone here for this item?
Good evening, Keith Michael. Since your last meeting, we have met with your solicitor as well as your staff and have worked through all the issues and are now in agreement with your engineer. The real big call, the pipes are still in the road that were slightly wrong will be removed, and all pipes now will be 15 inches in diameter. We'll be posting security, and we'll ask your conditional plan approval this evening, and we'll definitely be able to clean up all the
signatures and.
Do we have an updated letter from DMA or is this September 9th letter?
That is the most recent one.
Okay. And my understanding, Mr. Heigl, you had conversations with DMA since this letter.
That's correct. We would anticipate if you choose that
Yeah.
the motion would be us to meet all those conditions.
Let's just go through this letter just real quick, just to make sure we understand them all. That's okay. So we have, you had a letter from you? Yes. Why don't you take us through it just to talk through it? And staff, if you have any questions or concerns, please bring them as well.
You may recall that the owner did not know that he needed stormwater permit. So there's, I would say maybe 40% of the pipes that are in the ground, we were asking that they remain there and we would increase the pipes to 15 inch of the front. The engineer said that's not acceptable, and so we agreed that all of the pipes existing as well as the proposed will all be 15 inch.
Can I ask a question about that, Keith? So, there's also a cover requirement, for.
Yes.
The pipe to go in the ground.
Obviously, because there is a cover, the pipes that are 6 inch, 12 inch and 10 inch will have to be deeper because we have a minimum cover of 1 foot between the top of the pipe and the actual ground subgrade, and then there'll be stone and pavement.
Okay, so, not an engineer, but to me, that means that the pipes will also have to extend farther out, closer to the creek. In order
Well, all pipes are on a slope, so they will extend past approximately 3 to 5 feet from where you currently see them on the plans.
So. Without having seen that, I mean, you'll have to go back to the zoning hearing board.
Because of the pipe going further into.
Right, the approval they got from the zoning hearing board before was for where the pipes exist now, and now.
Then we will lower the pipes and not extend them.
Which is that an engineering possibility?
Yes, if you can picture the slope being at this location, there's two things that we would do. We would either pipes at this elevation, we would lower them this way, which would extend longer, or we would have to flatten this so that the pipe could stay where it would be. And so it would actually be removing soil on the bank to be able to keep the pipe invert exactly where it would be horizontally, but be lower. So instead of looking like this, it would look like this.
An engineering issue.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. Yep.
We see the applicant should work with the township to reach a resolution about where his attorney talked to the solicitor and worked out the note that we have on the plan.
Okay.
The stormwater, in terms of the financial security, we will be adding, you notice you got 1, 2, 3, 4, it's over into the next page, the fifth. We will be adding over $8,000 to the financial security, so the financial security will be almost what I was talking about with 1 foot minimum cover, that all of the pipes would be larger, but the cover would be still 1 foot. And that three was conveyancing, again, kind of a different section of where he was saying the issues.
Yeah.
More was integrating that was already completed, however, have to amend that. And that will be signed and recorded with the plan. And then the other thing is control at the end of all the pipes. There was one detail that had the riprap on an angle, and we all agreed that the riprap will be level at the end of each pipe. And then number 6 was that the yard inlet at the low spot
having 15-inch pipe going out of it into our collection system. Which again, we agreed to.
The other significant issue I think that was outstanding was about the easement along the creek.
You mean the official map? Yeah, yeah, sorry. Yeah, briefly, said, you actually repeat it again.
Yeah, on page 2, you'll notice where we had added a note to the plan where we acknowledge the importance of the map that we showed.
Staff looking for something else other than that.
I wasn't directly involved in the conversations, but I know there was concern about having to enter into a deferral agreement. I think what we had originally talked about was an easement.
Trail easement.
Along the creek. The plan is not really an easement along the creek. So I guess it depends on how comfortable it is. The official map process, obviously, gives the township and the applicant an opportunity to talk about
Sure.
what's on the official map. Give the township the opportunity to acquire what's on the official map, but we haven't talked about going that far. And from what I understand, the applicant was reluctant, perhaps prior to now, to provide an easement along the creek.
Can you talk to that or the applicants?
If you would, I'd like to read a statement that came
Sure.
from Sheila Ward. This would have been the working with Susan Pfeiffer, your solicitor, and she said, thank you for the conversation. My clients confirmed that they will replace all piping with 15-inch pipe as designated in the Township Engineer's Review Letter of 9/9. With regard to the proposed trail, I understood from our discussion that the township would not require an easement and/or a deferral agreement at this time.
And what was that dated? That
That was an email that came from Sheila O'Rourke to Susan on Monday, September 16th. Today.
Oh, today. Okay. It sounds like having an easement would be more protection for us. But having a note on the plan, I'd actually love to hear other comments from the board on wanting an easement versus just a note on the plan regarding the official map and that pathway. Sure.
The applicant acknowledges that East Lampeter Township Ordinance number 365 adopted an official map pursuant to Article 4 of the Municipal Planning Code, and the official map depicts a proposed trail on the property. That was, again, the note that we worked out between the two attorneys.
Thoughts from the board?
I'd like to at least hear from our solicitor of the other side of that conversation. I feel like I'm getting one piece of it. Like the note as written is a note that says you have a map. Doesn't seem to do a lot.
Again, I wasn't directly involved in any of the conversations, but I don't believe that at any time staff was asking the applicant to actually build a trail along the creek, but rather just provide an easement for future construction of a trail, likely by the township at some point in time, an unknown future date. But I was aware that they had expressed reluctance or concern about providing.
Certainly not an attorney, but what I understand was that there was a discussion between the two attorneys over compensation, condemnation, and what that might imply. And the note, I wasn't part of the conversation either, but the note was what both
parties agree to.
And I didn't hear that directly from our solicitor
Yeah.
either.
So our options today, can we, I'm assuming we can table this motion and get more information from the solicitor, or we can make a decision as a board based on the information that we have at this point. We can either approve with conditions or we can deny as well, right? So we have all those different options. Am I missing any, Hitch?
No, yeah, those are all the options. I wish I had more.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, understood. It looked, to me, it looks like the applicant is, trying to, follow the rules and, they have an engineer in front of us that, is well known in the community and sounds like they're doing the right thing. I would like to move this plan forward. I frankly don't want to see it on the agenda again. So, I would like to find a way to move it forward, frankly. Realizing I don't have the full information about, I guess really it is our decision if we want to have this passed as an official easement, or are we okay at this point with it being noted on the plan as a part of the official map, which is a true statement?
You're right. I think it is accurate to say that, the official map process puts the facility on a map,
Yeah.
gives us the opportunity to have that conversation. But in terms of actually acquiring property or easements or things like that,
You would need to go back and have another.
You need to either negotiate that or actually condemn it.
Yeah. Which we have lots of things on the official map
We do.
that we would need to have, if there's no land development plan happening or no stormwater management plan, we would need to have, we would need to kick off that conversation.
That's correct.
Members of the board, what do we want to do?
Protects us enough so we could get this done tonight.
I'm in favor of moving forward at this point as well with the note and, the letter that we have in front of us. Your motion?
Make a motion to approve the stormwater management plan for 170 Eastbrook Road, conditioned on the September 9th letter from David Miller Associates. Denying the first modification. And then accepting the note on the plan as stated about our proposed trail and the official map. And fine with all the other comments from David Miller. I'll second.
Yeah, motion made by Ethan, second by Ted, and you understand the denial, not 12 to be 15. Yeah, 15 all the way. Just to be
Discussion.
clear. No, I think it's denial. Yeah, I agree with Al. The applicant is very clear, 15 all the way. It's in the record. All those, I'm sorry, motion made, motion second, any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 10A High Garden Stormwater Plan 2408 William Penway. All yours.
Good evening, Chris Benarchik with RGS Associates. Here tonight, as you said, for the High Gardens Stormwater Management Plan. What I can do is just give a very brief background on this project. I think it's a bit more of a unique, special project compared to the usually in front of you for. And this, of course, is for the high property group here. The Stormwater Management Plan that was submitted is for 7.8 acre site within their business park, which is in the BP zone. of the ordinance on the middle side of pretty across from the Dale, that's Dale 5 meters. And really what this project is about is beautification. Dale's very passionate about taking a piece of ground and making something where it can be a special place for people to go to. One of the gardens is called the Peace Garden, where someone can have some quiet time, reflect in that space, relax. And another garden, 2 of them in total, the other garden they're calling Memorial Garden. And that's a labyrinth where they're trying to honor prior, I believe maybe current as well, employees of the high organization for contributing to the success of the company and the community and so forth. So that's really the big picture of what this is about. So again, the stormwater management plan was applied. The area of disturbance is less than 1 acre in total to implement these parks. I should say the park with the 2 gardens. There'll be a series of walkways in the one park, the Peace Garden, and then again I mentioned the labyrinth in the labyrinth has a walk onto Boulder. Unique with this situation, unlike using say like a typical stormwater management basin or an underground stormwater management facility, we're taking one of the options out of the vegetation, introducing vegetation as a more naturalistic way of managing stormwater. As you're probably aware of the natural uptake of water trees to, I think it's right around 80 or so trees being planted that will specifically function to take that upkeep or uptake of stormwater management. For some context, the property is a maximum impervious on the property of a lot of 75%. The existing condition today is 2.1% impervious coverage. After this product would be implemented, it'd be 3.1%. So you're talking about a 1% increase, and that's why we elected to use vegetation as a way. And when you look at the type of product this being part, it makes sense rather than have structural measure practice out there. I mean, enhance the property, get a stormwater benefit at the same time. So we have the review from September 4th from DMA. Have no objection to taking care of the comments in there. It's really about notifications, commercial security, the agreement. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have any questions. Board, any questions? Staff?
Most of the projects in the floodplain.
Yes.
Any concern about?
Well, we had conversations with staff very early on to kind of reveal what we can do in that floodplain. Obviously, it's concern for flotation. So we talked through the idea that the use is a recreational use. We're going to make sure everything is fixed so you don't have a bench that could dislodge and float downstream. We looked at a couple of options where we looked at impervious pavers versus say pervious. As we looked at the pervious option, which sounded like a great idea in the beginning, to the point about a floodplain, we said, maybe over time, if that clogs, not the best solution for long term. So we flipped it, and that's how we arrived at the vegetation. So to make sure it's not.
Good. Any other questions? Great. I appreciate Dale's vision. It's another, benefits of the work there. So really appreciate it. Okay, do we have a motion?
Water plan for High Gardens review number 2, condition on the Miller Associates letter dated September 4th.
Okay, motion made by Ethan, second by Roger. Any public comment for this item? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have B10B Sheets Land Development Plan 2100 Lincoln Highway East. Is there anyone here for this item? I get it. Josh.
Trying to get rid of that hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would have been here for it?
Sheets themselves, or was it?
Joe Sheets or?
Their representatives who have been handling that.
Yeah.
As well as their consulting engineer.
We have any objection from staff? Is there any implied a timing that we have to worry about?
Any more for those?
Well, I would love to discuss it. I have a feeling that we're gonna need some back and forth and some conversation.
Yeah,
Do we have their, FEMA parkland number?
No, I don't believe we've.
They didn't have it at the planning commission meeting either. That's a requirement that we accept that in order to proceed, so we don't have that. Otherwise, we could just condition on the letter and call it a day.
yeah, the letter says, what about that?
Just says security must be provided for both the it's a review and approval. And then the FEMA parkland is
Just says it needs to be addressed.
to be addressed.
There are some interesting movements of vehicles within the property that I would quickly have some conversation, although not sure it's exactly in our jurisdiction to
I can answer a few. I was at the planning commission meeting, and heard their presentation and their comments, so
yeah.
I can answer a few of them if you.
Yeah, actually, Jeff, can you bring the plan up? Is that possible or no? No, it's fine. So in front of us, we have you. So we have the site plan. It's not the overhead picture. It's the document that was black and white, final land development plan piece. This one? Yep. Yeah. So if you look on the south side, you can see depictions of cars. So essentially, it appears that, so cars will come in from south of Oakview, right? And make a left into the property, which, that road is currently there, right? So the storage units are south of there, right? And then cars will make a left into Sheets. And then if they want to do the drive-through, they will then make a right in between, I'm assuming that's going to be grass and then parking spots. So they're basically going to go in between, right? Parking spots and grass, and they will, provide their order at some point in that queue line. And then they will, I'm assuming there'll be a stop sign.
There will be.
Okay. And there's
Yeah. Parking space, just.
24 spots, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, and 24. So cars will essentially go behind those parking spots, which is fine. That's all good. I'm fine with that. And then they'll come to a stop sign, and then they will have to Frogger that, cars going left and right, east and west, and north and south, and cars backing out of spots 23, 22, 24, 25, 26. It's an interesting method of that four-way intersection in their parking lot. I'm just wondering if there's any other way to handle that.
Yeah, so the planning commission raised this concern as well. Gentleman from Sheets, I'll paraphrase, and when we have them for us, they can clarify even further, but this is a new feature they've been trying out. So the current counts, they did traffic counts of those. So most of the folks who utilize their drive-through, so their drive-through is not designed and part of their business model to operate like a fast food drive-through.
Right.
It's designed mainly to be a mobile pickup drive-through. If you don't want to do curbside or want to even order go to the window and order a gallon of milk. So if you're a mom and you've got a bunch of kids in the car, and you don't want, it's raining.
Sure.
So they're seeing 1 an hour, 3 tops. So
Okay.
most, in their view, most likely that queuing line there would actually never be utilized.
So can you bypass
So
that?
there's no line there.
Okay, so you don't actually order anything. This is just an extra queue.
So my understanding is you order once you get to the building, and then there's a pickup window. So there might be, 2 windows there. You can order at one, pick up at the other, or go straight there. So it's merely a way, it's more of a convenience for pickup, typically when it rains, when people don't want to walk in or do curbside.
Okay.
So and their current counts are, they're shooting for maybe 10% of their volume on a good day might go through that, spread out over the day. Behavior may change 10 years from now or 5 years from now, but that's their current answer to that question is they built it to meet the requirements of having that many queued cars, but they don't expect to have more than 1 to 3 at any given time.
I was worried it was, DoorDash pickup or something along those lines.
Could be, right? I mean,
Those folks would use it. I mean, at least I'm a regular Sheets user. Most of them are using the curbside. So they get the app, I've arrived, someone walks out with their stuff. 'Cause that's usually food related. This could be anything in the convenience store.
did they give any indication where curbside would be? Would it be on the south side
So the
or?
way Sheets are currently running those is every spot is a curbside.
Okay, so every spot closest to the store
Yep.
on all sides. Yeah.
It's one, so they're regular parking or curbside.
Okay. 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 I'm for a conversation. I'm for moving forward. If we can.
Suggestion would be that the board, I'm uncertain of whether there is additional time to act.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I suggest that you take action on it, conditional on.
Yeah.
The letter as
Yeah.
presented. However, if there is additional time.
Yeah.
Available for review. For the next meeting.
Okay.
It's tough to present their our plan to accept.
Yeah. Security, the fee in lieu of, I think the way it's worded in the ordinance is that, as long as they meet the formula,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily need to come in.
Yeah. If the applicant was in front of us, my assumption is they would have taken us through this plan, explaining some things. So just for the good of the public, I will attempt, and since you were at the planning meeting, my biggest concern about this plan is just the traffic impacts. And it sounds like there have been multiple conversations with staff and PennDOT about traffic movement on Lincoln Highway. It will be right in and right out only. And I'd say a pretty drastic right turn. So I'm sure someone will try to make a left turn on the Lincoln Highway from the Sheets, but it's going to be very difficult for them to do it. I mean, it's going to be legal to do that, but it's really forcing traffic to make that right out of there. You sure hope that the legal traffic goes down to Oakview and up north to the light, and then they can make a left or a right at the light at Lincoln Highway. They also need improvements here on Lincoln Highway for that right access into Sheets if you're going eastbound on Lincoln Highway east. Much other, and Ethan, other comments just about plan?
Along Lincoln Highway, they're being coordinated with the Western Gateway
Yeah.
project improvements. Ultimately, when both the store is there and the Western Gateway is done, it will include the 5 foot of grass, 12 foot of their pedestrian facility. For westbound traffic on Route 30, they'll have to go to the light, turn left down Oakview, turn left into the driveway that exists down there. We did ask, and Sheets agreed to provide a dedicated left-hand turn lane for southbound Oakview Road to queue up if necessary to turn left. Not impede the southern movement.
Got it. Okay.
The
Yeah, keep going.
the other things that are shown on the plan at this point that staff is concerned about are they are showing an improvement adjacent to the future pathway to provide some picnic table area as well as bicycle rack and maintenance type equipment there. We think that ought to be located farther west, closer to the intersection. In addition, recent conversations with representatives from the Western Gateway Plan from PennDOT have indicated that they may not, probably won't include in the PennDOT project the pads for the bus stop to be placed there. There is an existing bus stop there just east of the intersection. And the plans had proposed to put a pad there south of the trail with a, bus shelter on it for the Red Rose system. That's where Red Rose wants it. And we'd like Sheets to at least allow for that to be placed there. It shouldn't interfere with any plans presented now or in the future for the remaining land, which we expect at some point in time will have a tenant as well.
So there's a parcel of land to the west of where the Sheets building will be, which is approximately 1.5 acres of impervious, total of 1.76 acres to the west. This potential pad for a bus stop, are you imagining that still on the Sheets property, or are you thinking more west towards where this future lot tenant space is?
In front of that future lot, and a pad of concrete just big enough for a bus shelter.
Yeah.
So that was already articulated, illustrated by PennDOT, but for whatever reason now they're saying they wouldn't.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Okay.
We can make that for motion.
Yeah.
We'll work with staff.
Yeah.
To make that. Make a motion
Okay.
that we accept the Sheets Land Development Plan 22-13, 2100 Lincoln Highway East. With all recommended Township Planning Commission recommendations and subject to the review comments provided by our township engineer and the county planning department, with conditions also including working with staff to ensure that the planned bus stop is moved near the intersection of Lincoln Highway and South Oakview Drive. Just emphasizing again, they must work with staff.
Yeah.
To make that happen. And the condition that PennDOT confirms they will not be providing a bus stop in the intersection of Lincoln Highway and South Oakfield Drive, that bus stop Sheets will provide that according to the original plan pad and shelter in coordination with our RTA.
Thank you for that motion. We have a motion. Second by Ted. Any board comment or public comment on this motion?
Very happy to see it moving forward.
I am as well.
Are they gonna cede the western property in the meantime until they have a tenant, or what's the plan for that?
I think so. That was my understanding from. They're not gonna make it look ugly.
As I said, I can't imagine they would leave it as is.
Yeah, that's kind of on the front face of their property. They're going to want it to be attractive.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes. Thank you. Great. Okay, we have 11, 1, supervisor discussion items, budget item regarding homelessness. Touch.
Yes, the board heard from various community organizations at your last meeting. Seeds actually provided the board with a proposal regarding how they would utilize the budgeted funds. That allocated. You've been discussing this issue for a while. We haven't really come up with anything else. The only additional thought that staff came up with was related to the house that the township owns next to Knowles Mill on Philadelphia Pike. And perhaps, working on setting up a program where a family, a CV family could be placed there at some below market rate, perhaps working with an organization like Bridge of Hope to place them, manage them, give them services to get them on their own eventually. And then, when that family would move out, then, a next one would move in. So that's just an idea. We haven't pursued that, other than we did ask the rental agent to put a pause on efforts that have been made to try and lease the property until the board would make a decision.
Okay, so we do have the option at this moment to approve the $10,000 contract, I'll call it, with Seeds.
Okay. That's what the board
Yeah.
wants to do.
Yeah, so that's point one, and then point two, we do have property and potentially future property at some point that we could look at renting at below market rates to help. Every property helps, right? So we have that authority to rent those properties, as Hutch mentioned. So let's take the first point first, the $10,000 contract with Seeds.
I think what they presented to us, I think it's not a whole lot of money towards the big problem, but it's probably the most immediate need, which is gathering the data and then connecting the folks who are experiencing homelessness in our community with resources that currently exist in the county. That requires legwork of building relationships, walking down the street, working with Conestoga Valley social worker to identify families who are living in hotels, and actually doing the outreach to get to know them, get their names, get the data, and then share that with the county homelessness coalition, as well as get those folks connected in with all of the services that are on offer in both our community and the county, so that we can get them the most help that we can. That would in turn give us a lot more data. They can now come and say, hey, we've got the pit count that the county does once a year, but then we can say, all right, how many folks did you talk to in the last 6 months in East Lampeter? And they can give us actual numbers that are more real time, which I think would help us as we look at what else we could do in the future. So my recommendation would be to, or do you want me to make it a motion?
Sure, you can make it, and then we'll open it up. Yeah, please. Yeah.
So, I'm sure, go ahead.
So I agree with you, Ethan, the $10,000 isn't going to make a wave of difference. But I thought the Seeds team came with the most passion to help the township look into it, actually reconnecting with some of the people out there that are homeless, challenged and things like that. So I'm in favor of giving them the contract.
Great, thanks, Roger. Mike?
And the second part, was that presented, Hutch, as an alternative, that the 10,000 would go to the Knowles Mill house?
It's another idea.
It was just another idea.
Yeah, okay.
You could look at it as, you know, the difference between a market rate and a non-market rate
Yeah.
and that value, but, again, we haven't really put a whole lot of energy into it
Yeah,
yet.
they don't have to be exclusionary. It could be a
That's
part of
right.
a larger, program and cooperation with seeds and what they're trying to do.
Correct.
They're on this all the time. They're always looking. If we can help with finding some kind of residence that could be transitional, that's great. It's not that easy, but you know,
Agreed.
you gotta do something.
And I'm thinking with the data that they would give to us, and we see these chronic persons over multiple year challenge and things like that. And then, then resource those people to get them into programs somewhere, because there are, I mean, just looking at the paper over the last 6 months, I mean, there are things coming on board.
Okay, let's, any other comments or, good? Okay, well, we have a motion for the 10,000 and we'll,
I make a motion to authorize the $10,000 we budgeted to be given to the Seeds organization to implement the street outreach program.
okay, motion made by Ethan, second by Mike. Any public comment for the motion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, and then, I'm not looking for a motion, I think just shaking of heads or some agreement that have staff to look at, what it would take to rent out, the properties that we own at a discounted rate.
And just a clarification, so Bridge of Hope, there's other where Seeds can do this as well, but Bridge of Hope focuses on, they're a nonprofit in our community. You don't have to rent to them at below market rate. They actually have donors that will help subsidize a family moving in. They provide a social worker to work with the family, and then they connect that family with resources. Church congregations provide wraparound community care. People who are friends, people can drive folks to the interviews, doctor's appointments. All they're looking for is any landlord who has a property to just say, I'm willing to work with you. And they provide the security deposit, the first month of rent, and then they subsidize the family. And the goal is to get that family to where they can pay full rent on their own over a period of time.
They definitely have the structure to it. What Seeds brings, it will be more expensive. You have to have case management with this. You can't do it any other way. You have to, and that costs money to do. You really have to know their stories. You're going to do it right. So relationships.
So I think it's a great idea to explore that option.
Yeah, explore.
There's other folks and Seeds to say, hey, we've got a property. What could you do with it? But I know Bridge of Hope could probably put a family in there tomorrow if we and pay the current rent we're asking.
So one, I appreciate staff making these, having these thoughts and brainstorming this, solving for this issue. And I would say staff should have a conversation with Bridge of Hope and maybe there's other organizations as well that could help. But, and maybe just bring it back to a future meeting as well. So
We'll definitely
sounds
bring
good.
it back before we implement anything.
Sounds good. We have 11:2. Just any other supervisor discussion items. I'll use this time just to ask if there are any other items you want to add to a future agenda as a supervisor discussion item. Do we have any items? Okay, we'll move on. We have 12A, action regarding Lincoln Highway Lancaster Business Improvement District, the bid.
Yes, Ben Kaplan, who's on Zoom, no? Was engaged by your Industrial Commercial Development Authority to assist in the process of creating the Business Improvement District along Lincoln Highway. He's been putting in that energy, and he's been putting in a lot of energy as well to go out and not only talk with staff and with Ben, but to meet with property owners out along the highway. So part of that process requires that the board adopt a resolution to move forward with the creation of the district. We have a proposed map up on the screen now, which is essentially the same as what was considered back in 2017. We did clean it up. There had been an error by including some residential properties in the district in that prior effort, but we've gotten those removed. It is a contiguous area, which is required to be. And, this is the next step. The resolution was prepared by legal counsel working with Ben. And is ready for board action if you're ready to consider it.
Sounds good. Ben, do you have any comments to say?
First of all, it was nice to meet a couple of you at PSATs this spring, and I'm glad that this project's on its way. We were very appreciative of the authority offering to hire us to help out with it. Hutch is right on everything he said about the map and everything. I stand at the ready if you want me to explain anything or give a deeper overview of the whole business improvement district process concept and or the timeline that we're currently working on. But if you're not interested in hearing that, because I do realize it's almost 8:30, then by all means, go ahead.
I'll actually open it up to the rest of my supervisors if we want to hear maybe a 5-minute overview of the bid.
Sure.
Interested? Okay. Ben, give us a 5-minute version of the bid.
Okay. Hopefully I can do it in a little less than that.
Okay.
We'll see.
Sounds good. I'll be on time.
Okay, so first of all, the business improvement district, that was a concept that was started in the 90s and then kind of improved upon with the Neighborhood Improvement District Act of 2000. It's been modified a little bit since then, but it's a concept that's been around for, about 25 years. The idea is to take districts that need a little assistance from a like government entity, but with the nimbleness and kind of local control and flavor and sense of place that you might get from a neighborhood kind of initiative or something like a economic development corporation. So it kind of pairs that convening power and the secure funding and long-term planning that comes with the local government and pairs it with that local control, that unified voice, that sense of place, and it empowers them with that kind of power. So I think it's a really cool model. The plan here is largely based off of the 2017 version that the township was implementing as part of the 2015 streetscape. This is only a slight modification really from that plan. But perhaps I think I've had a chance to kind of go around, particularly with Supervisor Demi, to some of the lead organizations in the community and kind of get a sense of what they're looking for to get out of it. And the other thing is just, I think it's the right time to do it because you've already started to implement some of the streetscape projects and they've gone well. And so this would hopefully just add a little bit of jet fuel to the momentum that you've already got going. Hutch already mentioned the contiguous nature of the bid. There was another question that I'll go ahead and mention now, which is that Mr. Etchison had mentioned a potential 10% of total assessed value of the township requirement. We did look into that today and got a legal opinion on it. So basically, a recommendation is that a bid would only encompass 10% of the total assessed value of the entire township. The one that we have before you here tonight is actually 13.1%. But we did confirm that that's really just a kind of recommendation. And I kind of chalk it up a little bit to just the nature of what you have here. We've got some fairly sizable assessed properties that are nonprofit, not taxed. And then it's of course surrounded by, a bunch of agricultural land and such. So I think it's just the unique nature and flavor that your township brings to the table. So I'm not particularly concerned. You want a business improvement district to be big enough that it's able to make an impact and be a sizable enough community, but also not so big that it's kind of, just a redundant government agency. If you wanted, well, if you could let me screen share, oh, it's disabled. I'll just describe briefly the timeline where we're at so you can orient yourself. Um, I went before the authority board in July and then actually kind of kicked off the project about a month ago. We have met with 6 of the larger businesses within the district in order to understand what they think their part of the community needs. We were able to meet with some ancillary stakeholders and collect all the parcel data, mostly from the assessment records. And then we were able to build the map that's in front of you. We have gone ahead and drafted some of like a color-coded version of this map, whereby we've identified the nonprofit tax exempt properties as well as the ones that we'd be paying the fees. We have put that on a spreadsheet, and it looks fairly similar to what it was in 2017. It looks like this at a 0.4 mil fee would end up raising about $108,000 each year, which would then be used to make streetscape improvements and such at the discretion and advice of the business owners that are on the authority. Today, we're asking you to pass the resolution that would authorize us to finalize with staff the final plan, which we would then design and send out, have a public meeting, a public hearing that's required by law about October 21st is what we were thinking. And then from there, we would design a letter, send out exhibits. We would shoot for sending that out around October 28th, at least that week. That would give you a period of time to solicit feedback and a vote on the final plan on the 18th of November. And then you would have a chance for the constituents to respond. If they do not want to see this pass, then they would have 45 days to respond, and that takes you up to about December 19th. I wanted to get it wrapped up before Christmas so that you could have a chance to interview prospective board members and then make the appointments at the January 6th reorganizational meeting, so that hopefully you could have your business improvement district authority up and running by mid-January or so. All right, that's the orientation. Any questions?
Thank you, Ben. Great overview. Any questions? Ethan, thanks for all your hard work. I know you've been working with Ben, like he said, meeting with landowners in the bid area. So I appreciate that.
I think just the feedback from the business owners that I've met with and had phone calls with or sat down with, that's different than when we ran this back in 2015, 2016, is a lot of our plans in the streetscape were hypothetical and on paper at that point. People had questions of what would happen if we narrowed the lanes, if we actually started to build these paths, would people walk on them? Would traffic get worse? We've now been able to implement some of those first steps. We've narrowed the lanes, traffic actually smoothed out, speeds slowed, but traffic hasn't increased. People are using the paths that have been built. We can point to like the intersection at Dutch Wonderland or Lancaster Mennonite, where we have the new blue poles and the mast arms and the pedestrian crossing signs, and point to it and say, this is what we had in mind. And also in the rebranding and creating the plan for gateway signage and approving of that plan, we now have a brand, Lincoln Highway Lancaster. In that process, we involved several of the business owners who gave us feedback. We worked with Discover Lancaster, so they got to be involved in that process and give us feedback. So I think the general tone now is much more open because they can point to it, but there's also a desire to say, we would like to be an organized group that can give feedback, which we would love to have, as opposed to us just picking something and saying, this is the color it needs to be, this is the shrubbery you want. Let the business owners tell us what they want, and work with us as a partner, and they would choose things that would benefit their businesses. So that's, so I'm definitely feeling more of a sense of enthusiasm talking to business owners this time versus last time.
Sounds good. Okay, other questions from the board? Okay, the action that we're looking for on this action item?
Adoption of the resolution.
Adoption of the resolution.
Starts the public process.
Okay. Okay,
Make a motion to adopt the resolution of the Board of Supervisors of East St. Peter Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, initiating the public process for establishment of the East St. Peter Business Improvement District. And the exhibit A for the map is the one we have on the screen there.
sounds good. Okay, motion made by Ethan, second by Roger. Any public comment or board comment on the resolution? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay, 12B, resolution authorizing right-of-way transfer to PennDOT North Oakview Road.
Board members might recall that the treehouse property was required as part of their land development process to make improvements along their frontage, Laurel Oak, Old Philadelphia Pike, and North Oakview Road. The design, we've gone through the design process with PennDOT, and some of the facilities will be located outside of the existing right-of-way that PennDOT controls. A number of years ago, when the township was making improvements to the intersection at North Oakview and Old Philadelphia Pike, in conjunction with the Ambleside apartments that went in on the new apartments, there was required by the township from adjacent property owners, including Treehouse, both the east and west side of Oakview Road. So it's those rights of way that the township previously acquired to be conveyed to PennDOT now, so that Treehouse can make their improvements within.
Yeah. Yeah.
A resolution was prepared by the township solicitor, and that's what we're asking the board to do.
We have a motion to approve this resolution.
Make a motion to approve the resolution to convey right of way to PennDOT on North Oakview Road, as presented.
Second. Second by, motion made by Ethan, second by Ted. Okay, any public comments for the resolution?
I'm not quite sure what you said, but what's Treehouse?
It's the old Anderson Pretzels.
Okay.
Yeah, it's changed names 5 or 6 times. Yeah.
It's not going to have any difference in the widening of the road.
There's a minor widening of Oakview Road just to meet PennDOT standards, but it's not adding lanes to the roadway, but they're curbing and sidewalk around all 3 sides of that property.
See the signs of the reading.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
Okay, any other questions? Comment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, we are approved on that. Okay, we have authorized staff to proceed to sheriff's sale for delinquent accounts.
We're going to adopt a policy. Delinquent account collection. A while ago, we reached that point with accounts in particular. And what the policy says is we're supposed to get authorization from the board of this step. Property at 55 South Eastland, 3 Meadow Lane, 1143 Oakview, 47 Garland Circle.
These individuals have received multiple
Yes.
notices, letters, and so forth, and
Correct.
frankly, the hope is that before this gets to sheriff's sale, they will see that we're taking this seriously and will then pay their past due.
Yes, there are a number of liens that are already on these properties,
Yeah.
and they're fully aware of
Yeah.
their.
Yeah, responsibilities. Yep, okay. We have a motion to approve authorizing staff to proceed to sheriff's sale for delinquent accounts.
Motion to approve. Back to, if that counts.
Do we have a motion? Second by Mike. Any public comment? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we have 4D, approval of the 2025 pension plans MMO calculations.
Yeah. Back to the five requirement, the board see and approve these calculations in September for the years. So that we can properly budget for the contributions in the pension plan. And these are done in conjunction with working the township's actuary and calculated based upon estimated variance. So if you have any questions about the numbers in particular, I can try to answer those. They're
Completed by the actuary.
we provided state aid that we expect to get for each of the plans. Then each sheet, so that, and, you know, it's, for example, for the police plan, that the minimum municipal obligation next year is a little over $413,000. And we're expecting to get about $431,000 from the state.
So it's actually 17,000 more than we expect to need to expend.
And both of our plans are over 100% funded.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good news. You know, hopefully additional good investment results and some state aid, and the pension plans will continue to stay in good shape, which is not common throughout the Commonwealth. So do we have a motion?
Do these have to be separately, or can they be as one motion?
They can be one motion if you like.
Make a motion to accept the defined benefit plan calculation of 2025 minimum municipal obligation and the police retirement plan calculation of 2025 minimum municipal obligation.
Okay, motion made. Second by Mike. Any public comment on the approval, the 2025 pension plan MMO calculations? Okay, public comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, no abstentions. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we have 4E, opposition to the assessment appeal, Mill Creek Square Shopping Center.
Their assessed value. We don't know exactly what they're proposing as the new assessed value. That's how the process works, but because of the size of the property and the amount of assessment currently, we would expect that it would be more than the $500,000 threshold that the board set by policy some time ago. So again, in accordance with the policy, we'd like to work with the school district to have a unified opposition to the proposed assessment. And we, in the past, would again share the expenses associated with it, proportional to the tax levy.
Sounds good. I'll take a motion, then we can answer any questions.
No, to make a motion that we instruct staff to oppose the appeal of the Mill Creek Square Shopping Center and work together with the school district in all ways, including the cost of legal representation.
Good. Motion made. Second by Roger. Any questions, comments, board or the public? Okay. All those in favor for the opposition to the assessment appeal, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have 12F, appointment of comprehensive plan consultant.
Yes, the steering committee that was working with staff to go through a selection process has received proposals, completed interviews, and is recommending HRG Incorporated as the consultant for the township's comprehensive plan.
Okay. And HRP is a known entity. We use them for engineering on the sewer authority, and we've used them for, I'm sure, other things along the way.
And I'm on that committee in HRG. I mean, they're already up to speed, so we don't have to educate them.
Right.
Some of them are in town or something like that, so
Yeah.
we know them, they know us.
Yeah. Good to know. And seems like they do great work. So, okay. We have a motion for the appointment of the comprehensive plan consultant.
Make a motion to approve HRG is the comprehensive plan consultant.
Made by Roger.
I'll second.
Second by Ted. Any public comment or board comment on the appointment? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. And the item that we added, 12G, authorized staff to defend zoning hearing board decision regarding 138 Elmwood Road. Let's just give a quick on that.
Yeah, I just realized I misspoke when I told you 138 is 131.
131. Okay, got it.
We just learned Friday afternoon that the property owner has appealed the zoning hearing board's decision. And so in order to defend the zoning hearing board's decision, the board would need to intervene. The property owner has indicated a desire to try to negotiate a resolution, a settlement of the matter. But in order to do that, they had to appeal, and the board would have to defend the appeal before we can have that discussion. If you authorize us to defend, township solicitor will file the necessary paperwork. We won't do anything else until we have conversation with the property owner. And, if there is a settlement type of resolution, that would come back to the board.
Is that a motion that we can ask any questions? Do you have any questions prior to the motion?
No, I struggle to see the benefit. I reviewed the documents. I would say my perception is our zoning hearing board made the correct decision in regards to the legal understanding of what they can and can't do. However, if the applicant goes to the court of common pleas and a judge says they can open their golf simulator, I don't see any benefit in appealing past that point. I don't see what, if a judge says they can, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, my only-
One of the zoning hearing board has to make a ruling in accord with sort of a strict view of the law, and the judge might have a little more discretion. I don't think it sets any precedent that's going to be detrimental to us going forward.
If that is the view shared by the board,
Yeah.
I would still recommend that you authorize us to defend the appeal so that we can have that conversation and save the additional expense associated with getting in front of a judge, both for the property owner and the township. Otherwise, the zoning hearing board will defend it themselves and we would have that expense for their counsel and the court costs associated with it. And if Ethan's correct that the zoning hearing board made the correct legal decision, I think the zoning hearing board would feel confident that they would prevail in court. So if you want us to try to get this settled, in my view, the best way to do that is to take this action now so that we can have that conversation.
I understand there's a legal step we have to take to be able to negotiate. I would love to negotiate and solve this before going to court, but I do realize, and I think all parties realize, we actually have to do this step to get to that negotiation step. So. Okay.
Make a motion to authorize staff to defend and be a party to the zoning hearing board decision for 131 Elmwood Road.
Motion made by Ethan. Second by Roger. Any public comment for board comment for this authorization? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, 13A, solicitation ordinance education efforts.
Yes, since the board's conversation at your last meeting, staff has been working on putting together educational efforts, which included getting article put together for the October newsletter.
Yeah.
Having the police department gather information and provide it to us so we can put it on the website as to who has solicitation permits active in the township. So that'll be a resource for residents going forward. We're also exploring a couple other ideas. So,
I don't know if you've actually seen the details, but is it proper to call the non-emergency line for the police if you encounter someone? Is that most appropriate? If you're feeling in danger, please call 911.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It should, but yeah, if it's just a matter of sharing information or a concern of that sort, the non-emergency.
Great. Any questions regarding the solicitation policy? Again, conversations came up at a past, I believe it was public comment. Can't remember, Susan, maybe. Yeah, Mrs. Snyder, regarding solicitation. I agreed with Mrs. Snyder that our neighborhood, likely on a weekend, gets occasionally one, sometimes zero, but occasional people coming to through our neighborhood and clearly not having following the rules of the township, so of the ordinance. So I appreciate the education to our residents to know what to do. Okay, 13B, MOU regarding rec programs use of CV facilities.
I just want to report that the school district also approved, pardon me, the MOU that this board approved at your August meeting. So that MOU is in place, and Lisa's working on setting up those detailed agreements.
And as I've shared, I've heard feedback from family members and members of the public that Lisa's doing an excellent job. Great, events and the posts on social media are great, and getting out there about recreational programs. So, and at this point, mostly in the parks, but looking forward to seeing some more programs at the other CV facilities. So, great. Thanks for whoever had to go to did you go? You and Lisa went?
We went to the earlier August meeting over at the school district, and the meeting where they took action was the same night as
This one, right? Okay, good. Yeah, that's right. Great. 13C, request for additional funding for trail project.
Yeah, we had reached a point with the design and development of that project where we realized that the amount of construction funding that was being provided by the smart growth funding that we had gotten through the county wasn't going to be enough. And so we went back to through the planning organization and their technical advisory committee and asked them adding funding to the project so that it would be enough to cover the construction. Construction estimate at this point is about 1.5 million. And what has been allocated prior to that was 1.1 million. We had originally asked for 1.5, and when the work was given a lesser amount, we thought we might be able to work around it through the design process, because originally we thought there's going to have to be a large retaining wall on the open roadside to hold up. Used to Kmart there, but there's now games.
Yeah.
So we were able to improve the design and not have to do that retaining wall, but we still got costs that are greater than the application. So I'm waiting for their decision, but wanted you to know that we made that request.
Great, thank you. Good. Any questions for Hutch? Okay, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Gonna check for public.
Oh, yeah. Any public comment? Any comments? No? Okay.
Here for school project.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Welcome. What school do you go to? Oh, great.
Yes. Picture after the meeting.
Of course.
The names.
Sounds good.
That's good.
All good. I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second by Roger, I'm sorry, by Ted. Doesn't matter. All those in favor, I'm sorry, any public comment on the adjournment? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? We're adjourned. Thank you. Welcome. Are you an East Lampeter, are you a resident of East Lampeter? Great.